Hi guys, this is Paul Hunter with Keller Williams Realty. I don't need to introduce myself. You're on my page, so you should know who it is. I'm in real estate. But today we have Cal Walker. He is with Bryan Bryan Inspections. I started using them recently, uh, and I just wanted to interview him and give you guys a rundown why home inspections are really important. Most people do it for the buyer. That's obvious. They're trying to discover all kinds of problems with the house. But there's also a part that is really important to have it the seller do a pre-listing. So Calvin and his team at Bryan and Bryan are known just not for uncovering the issues, but also helping both buyers and sellers make better, smarter, faster decisions. They can be more confident in what they do. So whether you're listing your home, getting ready to buy, this conversation will give you a real insight into how inspections can add value, build trust, and even protect your bottom line. So I just wanted to say that an inspector, especially one like Bryan and Bryan, can be a marketing ally. So let's get started with the questions. Cal,
Yeah.
first of all, thank you for being here, man. I appreciate your time. I know you guys are busy, but I just used you for my most recent listing, and the seller was really happy because he was able to. Well, you guys uncovered some issues, and he was able to take care of them.
Mhm.
What are the three issues you most frequently uncover?
Yeah. So when it comes to, pre-list inspections, the issues that we run into is going to be definitely when it comes to HVACs, roofing, and foundation. And you always want to get that pre-list inspection to get those big ticket items checked for sure.
Yeah, I keep telling the sellers if they uncover them before the house goes under contract, they can have it fixed. They can do it themselves. Have Uncle Joe do it. Obviously, do it right. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You still got to do it right. But if it's discovered during the inspection, during the option period, you're going to have a licensed contractor, and that might take some time
Mhm.
and might take some extra cash. So that's always a consideration.
Mhm.
Um, Cal, how can the pre-inspection listing help sellers market their home better?
So it does a lot of things. Pre-list inspection is going to automatically bring serious buyers and also trust between buyer and seller. A buyer is making a big investment, especially when it comes to buying a home. A pre-list inspection is going to give them that reason why they should buy that home, especially when it comes to your price point.
Ah, you're right, man. Um, Let me ask you this: when you're in your experience or with your company, do you think that buyers respond better to a clean inspection report that has been provided by the seller, or how does that work exactly?
I think a pre-listing inspection, a buyer is going to be more suited to want the pre-listing because they know what they're getting into. It's no speculation. Oh, well, they're saying this. What's really going on? Almost kind of like when you're buying a car. The seller's going to tell you all the good features about the home, but what's going on with this car? And the pre-listing inspection, especially for us with certified inspected homes, we do more than just that. We're going to list it for you, and we're also going to give you free lead generation and benefits for your buyer. So, for example, that buyer will get a 6 month instead of a 3 month termite warranty with us. Also, that seller gets a 25% discount when they become a buyer. So, also, when it comes to that, cheaper repairs. When you see a roof as a seller, you can get that repaired. Once a buyer sees a roof, that's going to be a new roof.
Yeah, a new roof, and probably what I'm concerned as a listing agent is the time. So you have maybe 7 days of the listing period, and they find it on the second day or the third day, and by the time you have to negotiate that, right? And so it puts the seller kind of at a disadvantage because if he doesn't agree to fix that roof or to replace the roof, he's gonna lose a contract and be more time on the market. It would go and it also the status on the MLS is going to go from pending to back on market. That's always a bad sign for the future buyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that yeah, definitely. If you have the pre-listing inspection, put it out on there on the MLS. Let people know what happened, and then in your remarks, say we took care of those. And I think um, you said something that you're not emphasizing too much, but I think as a listing agent, all those marketing features, and as a seller, the marketing features of having, helping out to bring more buyers to put that house out on the market a little bit more to make sure that more people see it, and obviously, the more people see it, the more people can get interested, And as I tell my sellers, if it's better to negotiate with somebody than nobody. So all of these things need to be taken care of anyway. So might as well do it, get it over with, and then when you sit at the table, you're sitting at the table from a position of strength, rather than being in the hands of the buyer and the buyer's agent, that they can come back at you with all kinds of stuff, and then you have to decide which one of those items you're going to agree to, and then you're at a disadvantage. And I think that you should always be negotiating from a position of strength, and I don't mean taking advantage of anybody, but if you have answered the questions in advance, it's going to be a lot easier. So can you walk us through an example of where a pre-inspection helped reduce time on market or prevented a deal from falling through?
Yeah, so a perfect example is Adrian Oliver. You can go to Inspector Team on Instagram, or you can go to my page, Cal Walks With You, to see the video. But she's ahead of a team at Remax Fine Properties, a very top brokerage in Katy, and she is specialized in getting listings that stay on the market for more than 90 days, so on and so forth. And she had a property that stayed on the market for 14 months. And it got tossed in her lap. And we came out with certified inspected homes. She was interested. She tried it out, and within 14 days, she got that thing sold. So pre-listing inspections is very important because, just like you said, it puts the seller back into the driver's seat. Instead of depending on, oh, well, let's just go see what the negotiation is going to be like. And it's a lot of tension. You always want to make sure that everything is very transparent, trust-wise, and that you're able to operate off that strength, like you said.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's important to understand that it is a process, that there are a lot of potential roadblocks. But as a listing agent, you need to be able to get past those. Right. And having trusted partners like Bryan Bryan Inspections is a big advantage as a listing agent, as a seller, and even as a buyer. Because if you come into a home and it's pre-inspected, you're going to feel like, okay, the seller has taken care of things. He is proactive. The house is probably taken care of in a better way than somebody who may not have been so proactive in maintenance and so on. Sometimes the sellers don't want to spend the money up front, right? Because they may not have the cash, and they want to get all the money and pay off whatever liens or whatever bills they want to pay off at closing. Do you guys do something like that, or do you want to be paid up front? Which is what I would.
So for the pre-listing inspections with the certified inspected homes, we would have to get paid up front, but it is 50% off for your first one. And if you have any multiple listings, we can do a bulk discount as well. But it's definitely important to do it for sellers, especially with us certified inspected homes. You can actually update any repair documentation on that report. Especially with the free lead generation that we give your seller's agent, and also the extra marketing for it as well. And just like we had talked about, putting them back into the driver's seat and making sure that, hey, you're coming to buy a home that has been inspected already. You don't have to worry about such and such and such, that you're already thinking about roof, HVAC, right? They've taken care of that for you.
Yeah, the main things is a lot of times buyers are trying to find these little things like the scratch on the wall. Well, that's not what the inspections are done for, right?
Yeah.
So run through that, because there's a misconception. A lot of people, that the doorknob is scratched or something like that. So what is an inspection supposed to do?
So an inspection is supposed to take a snapshot of that home the same day of the inspection. Is the water coming out at a good pressure, right? When I turn the light on and run the shower, are they going to flicker? Especially when we turn on utilities, was this home built correctly for any new constructions? We have crazy stories about that, but it's very important to get an inspection to see the condition of a home. Like I mentioned, this is an important investment in somebody's life. So you always want to make sure that you see what that home is like from someone who knows how to check a roof. I can check the foundation. And of course, common deficiencies like light fixtures, maybe dented, or like slanted wall plates, not squared right, and stuff like that. And that's up for the buyer's agent, or, the seller's agent, to let them know, hey, this is common in a home, nothing to be afraid of. And especially with us, we're non-alarmists. So we're going to let them know, hey, this isn't anything to worry about. you can get it fixed. I just had to put this on the Trek report because it's not up to our code, right?
Well, I wanted to get to that in a minute, but since you touched on it, let's talk about it. A lot of times, things look you mark them as deficient, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that freaks out people, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's deficient, and in your mind, okay, that doesn't work. We can't have that.
Mm-hmm.
What exactly does that mean? Sometimes, I mean, because you're talking about non-alarmist, and I know you guys, and you'll talk about it later, but you guys have a way of treating the when you're on the buyer side to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you explain to them
Mm-hmm.
that what is really how bad is it, or is it something that is going to be a safety issue,
Mm-hmm.
or is it just a cosmetic issue?
Mm-hmm.
So run through that for us.
Yeah, so especially us when it comes to our reports, you know, if you want to look at our reports, you can go to www.inspectorteam.com/sales portal. It'll show you our repair request builder and a sample. But so, for example, you take an attic ladder. We've all seen an attic ladder missing a screw. It's kind of looking weird when it comes down. So that's a deficiency. Due to Trek standards, we have to put that down as a deficiency, as a safety hazard. But with our inspectors, they'll let you know, hey, you can get this fixed at Home Depot. It's nothing to worry about. I have to put it on the report though, because it's not up to Trek standards. And just like you said, like cosmetic stuff, you know, we will put down sometimes, but it's not a big issue. Anything that's a safety issue though, we'll let you know, like a roof missing shingles. Hey, we had to put this on there because of Trek standards. You may want to get this checked out. It can cause leakage down the line, so on and so forth. It just depends on how your inspector is and what training they have. You know, you have inspectors that say, hey, you need to get this fixed now. You know what I mean? But we're never going to scare your client. And the deficiency, you know, definitely can be something to take note of, or just to say, hey, I'm aware of this, but I'm not going to be, you know, too up in, you know, in the air about it.
Well, the other thing that it may be deficient or not up to code today, but it may have been up to code when it was built, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does that factor in? How do you guys work with that?
So that's another thing that they'll say too. A lot of things change codes every year, every month. For example, when it comes to your electric panels, I forgot the terminology for it, but it's a breaker that'll stop surges. So that was an old code back in the day. It's not really a code nowadays, but we'll still put it on our report. But we'll always let them know, hey, this was a code that we have to put on there because it will help stop like major surges in the home, but it's nothing to be aware of. So when it comes to code, we do keep track of that, and we let them know pretty much, hey, this was an old code, but we're still gonna have to put it on here because the new code and the new code that comes out, so on and so forth.
Yeah, it's confusing, and that's why it's important to have somebody, you know, the inspector being there to explain to the buyer, especially, but to the seller too, because the seller needs to know, okay, this is going to be an issue. You're going to have to deal with it one way or another. One thing that I've noticed is like the plates on the outlets and stuff like that. I know it's sometimes it might be cosmetic, but there's also a safety issue, right? They have to be placed properly, and they can't be loose or missing.
Yeah.
We've been talking about like resale homes, or homes that have been on the market before. And what about when you are a buyer for a new home, or new construction? Do you guys do that also?
Yes, we do all phases, and our call center will reach out to your client for their builder warranty as well. Saves you a call. And one thing I'm glad you brought up new construction is, you know, don't think because it's a new home that everything is good.
Oh yeah.
Like I had mentioned earlier, you know, we're going to make sure when the utilities are turned on that it's functioning properly. You know, we've had a story to where a blue tape cutting agent and the client was outside. We're doing the inspection. And as soon as we turned the utilities on, you know, a pipe broke from the second floor, a waterfall. It was because the builders were actually pouring paint down the main drain line. So always get a third-party inspection for new construction. It's not always new. A lot of these builders, they're trying to hurry up and build so they can get their money for it. And, you know, definitely, you know, just in general, always make sure that you know for sure that this home is built correctly.
Yeah, it's really important. I mean, because people think that because it's a new home, it's all good. Well, I've been around new homes, and you start to find garbage in the attics, stuff that doesn't give you a lot of confidence. Right. So if you don't inspect the home if it's new, but if you're doing like custom building, you need to go there at several stages. So
Mhm.
what are those stages that you
Yeah.
go through?
So phase one is your pre-poured, where we check the foundation, make sure the foundation was poured correctly. Phase two, pre-drywall. Only time you'll be able to get to see behind the
That's
walls,
right.
right?
There you go.
And then phase three, final walkthrough, when we get to see was this home actually put together the way that it was supposed to.
Supposed to be. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I'm sure there's a whole lot more. We could sit here for hours and talk about different stories and things that happen to our sellers or our buyers. But I think this has given us a really good kind of a window into what and why we should have those inspections. There are two things I like to end with,
Mhm.
Cal. One of them is um, there are a lot of inspectors out there, and as anything else, people think that an inspector is an inspector is an inspector, like a realtor is a realtor is a realtor, and that ain't true. I mean, there
Exactly.
are levels,
Yeah.
and so I happen to know because I used you guys recently, so I know. Um, but I don't use all of your service. So the first thing is what distinguishes you guys from the competition, and finally, when you get through with that, just give us where we can find you. Your if you have a website, if you have your handles for social media.
Mhm.
So let's go for the first one. What sets you guys apart?
So what sets Bryan and Bryan apart is a lot of things. So one thing about us, all of our inspectors are non-alarmist trained. They go through 8 weeks of that when they get hired on with us. Also, pay at close. I think we're the only one that even does pay at close in real estate in general, and especially for new constructions. If you have leftover sales concessions, pay at close will cover our inspection costs every time, which makes it free for your client, right? Also, we do inspections on Saturdays. We have a call center.
Mm-hmm.
So all of our inspectors do is just focus on inspecting. Our call center takes the incoming, outgoing calls. I kind of call them 7-Eleven. They're open 7 days a week, 8 to 8, always there to help. And they're amazing reps as well. Also, too, we actually train a lot of the inspection companies that you see on how to even run their inspection companies. For example, Fox Inspections. They do about like 1K inspections at the least, and they're kind of similar to us, but not really. But we train all the inspection companies pretty much. So we're a pioneer and a leader in the home inspection industry. And we've been in business 30 years, 4.9 stars out of 5 to this day. And a fun fact about that is we actually received 200 5-star reviews this year from January all the way to March.
Wow.
So, we pretty much don't miss. I tell every agent, you give us a shot, we won't miss. Another thing about us too is we are relationship over transaction. So, before Paul even used us, I met with Paul one-on-one because we like to make sure that we don't kill any deals for our agents and make sure that we know what they look for, whether it's Spanish speaking inspectors, someone who's great with communication with their clients, or whatever it is. We want to make sure that your business stands out with us more than just taking your money.
Well, finally, then, where can we find you, man? On social media or?
Mm-hmm. So on Instagram and on TikTok, it is Cal Walks With You, no spaces. On Instagram, on Facebook, it's going to be Calvin Walker, of course. And you can always reach me at my number 832-810-5514. If you'd like to speak to our call center, that's going to be 281-484-8318.
And I will put all this information in the description so you guys can, if you didn't get that, you can read the description. Finally, man, one thing that stands out is that Cal is always well dressed. You can always see him, man. He's the new guy. I love the way he dresses. But anyway, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for stopping by, and yeah, we'll keep doing some more business.
Yes, sir.
Good for you,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Thanks. Okay, dude, that was
One take.
one take. Very good. I think most of this stuff is if you just talk about them, it's just a
Yeah.
18 minutes. That's not